Hi everyone, I'm Katie Maddox, the career coach here at Morehead State University, and I was just going to take a few minutes today to go over how to develop and create the best resume possible that's going to set you apart from the other applicants to any job that you go to apply for. So, to start off with, let's understand some basics about what a resume is for and what goals you're trying to accomplish with your resume. First of all, your resume is the first thing that an employer is going to see. And so you need your resume to entice them to give you a call for an interview. Next, you want to show through your resume that you're able to make it an immediate and a valuable contribution to that particular organization or to that business. And lastly, you should only include information that's relevant to the position you're applying for. So sometimes this means that you're not going to include every experience that you've had, whether it be a work experience, a volunteer experience, or a leadership experience. You're only going to want to include the information that's going to help an employer know and understand that you can do the job you're applying for. So when you sit down to start your resume, one of the things we encourage everyone to do is to keep it original. And what we mean by that is steer clear from using templates. Templates seem like they're very easy to use, but they're very hard to personalize to what you specifically need to show and what particular experience that you've had, as well as when you upload them into an online application portal, which nowadays you apply for most jobs online. That software most of the time is unable to read a template, and so it just sees it as a blank page. So the employer gets sent a blank page rather than your actual resume. So when you sit down to start your resume, make sure you're doing it from a blank Word document. Now, you're welcome to look at resume examples and sort of copy their format, but you want to make sure that you keep it simple and easy to read. So, as you're starting to write your resume, take some time to brainstorm and think about what educational experience do you have? What skills do you have? Think through both technical and non-transferable and transferable skills, excuse me. So, technical skills would be more like particular computer software or machinery that you have experience with. And transferable skills are more of those people skills, communication, whether it be oral or written, teamwork, critical thinking, conflict resolution. You want to think through those things and brainstorm those. And then obviously brainstorm any relevant experience that you've had, whether it be work experience, school related experience, any type of community or campus involvement, volunteer work that you have done, and any leadership positions that you have held. So just take some time to brainstorm through the type of information that you want to include on a resume that's going to be relevant. So when you go to start your resume, you always want to include your contact information at the top. And so the basic information you should include is obviously your name, definitely include your phone number, and include your email address. Make sure your email address is going to be something that's easily recognizable rather than just a nickname or a series of numbers. You can include your address if you would like to. And then if you have a LinkedIn account, feel free to include the URL to your LinkedIn page. In your education section, you can have it pretty basic or you can include some additional details, again, just depending on what's going to be relevant to your job. The basic information you want to include is the university name that you attended, the location, what your degree was specifically. So rather than just saying a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts, you want to make sure you put what area of study that was in, and then your graduation date. If you haven't yet graduated, you can always list it as expected May 2021 or anticipated December 2021. And then if you have a GPA that's 3.0 or higher, feel free to include it. But if it's lower than a 3.0, just leave that off your resume. And then again, if you've had any specific courses or projects or any campus involvements that is applicable to the job you're applying for, feel free to include that in your education section as well. So when it comes to your work history section or your experience section, I always say this should be the most important part of your resume as well as the largest part, because this is the section that's really going to show an employer you can do the job you're applying for. So basic information you want to include is the name of the company or organization you work for, what your position title was, the location, as well as the dates that you worked at that position. You always want to make sure the information on your resume is listed in reverse chronological order. So you're going to want to list your most recent experience first and then work your way backwards. And the example on your screen is a great example that demonstrates a promotion within their experience at their employer. So as you can see at the bottom, they list sales associates and then the dates. But then above that, they list lead sales associates and the updated dates. So this is an easy way for an employer who's looking at your resume quickly to see that within the same company, you held multiple positions and you received a promotion. You'll also see in this example that they've included numbers. They've quantified the work that they did, and they've showed accomplishments. They showed things that they achieved through their work. So as you're going to write your bullet points, you really need to think through how you're going to show achievements. So we always encourage students to use the ACE method, and ACE stands for action, challenge, and end result. And so this is really how you're going to format your bullet points, but it's also going to ensure that you include all the details that's really going to stand out to an employer. So action is just discussing how you address a challenge, a concern, a task, or responsibility. In the challenge, that's when you're going to identify, or you're going to list what it was that you were having to address. And then the end result, you're just going to highlight the outcome. What did you achieve through the work that you did? So an example of this that we often see in resumes is a bullet point similar to customer service experience. This is something that probably most people could put on their resume, and it doesn't provide the employer with a whole lot of information. So try to think through using the ACE method, how you can make that a little bit more informative. So some examples here are assisted 25 visitors daily, completing intake paperwork and following protocol. So what was their action? They assisted, and they assisted 25. And then the challenge is in completing intake paperwork. And then what was the end result? They followed protocol. Same thing with the second example. Answered multi-line phone in a professional capacity and directed callers to the correct department. So the action that they did was answering that multi-line phone. The challenge is that they were able to direct the callers to the correct department. And then the outcome was that they did it professionally and they did it correctly. So as you're going through to write your bullet points, keep that ACE method format in your mind. Try to be as descriptive and informative as possible, and then quantify it or use numbers as much as possible. So you can see in these examples, they never specifically say customer service, but an employer reading these more detailed examples will automatically understand that this person is good in customer service. So in the next part of your resume, you can include sections such as activities or leadership positions, volunteer opportunities. And so you're going to format those similarly to the way you would your work experience sections, because that can be great and valuable experience for the employer that you're applying to work with. So you're going to format them sort of similar to the way you do your work experience. You're going to want to include what was the organization or company that you worked with, what was your role, and then what were the dates that you were there. And then again, feel free, if you held a leadership position or you accomplished something specific or you helped plan events or you fundraised money, make sure to know that you can include bullet points to go into a little bit more detail to describe that if it's relevant to the job that you're applying for. And then when you come to a skills section in your resume, we tell everyone to focus on technical skills in this section. So these would be computer software skills that you're proficient in, or again, machinery, or maybe you're applying in an education field and you have a particular teaching certificate, or maybe you have a particular teaching or curriculum that you know how to use. Same thing with healthcare. If you know how to use certain machinery or read certain test results, this is where you want to include those technical skills. When you think through those more transferable skills that we talked about earlier, such as teamwork, critical thinking, communication, just like with customer service, you're going to want to incorporate those into your bullet points rather than including them in a skill section. So let's recap just quickly on some of the things we've talked about. So start your bullet points with action verbs. Think through things such as developed, initiated, coordinated. Think through those words that really show action on your part. Avoid complete sentences or paragraphs, and don't use I's. Typically, when an employer is looking at your resume for the first time, they're only going to spend 15 seconds. And if you've written incomplete sentences or paragraph, it's harder for them to gain information quickly. Make sure to always use bullet points. Again, this goes back to it helps an employer be able to read through and skim your resume quickly to understand the important information. Make sure you provide specific details. Be detailed and descriptive in your bullet points. Quantify information if you're able to. If you don't know an exact number, use things such as approximately or about or around. Focus on your accomplishments rather than your task. A resume should be more than just a job description listing out what you did. It should show you did this, but you accomplished this through doing that particular work. And then make sure you order your bullet points with the most impressive or the most important first. Again, the first few bullet points in any section is one of the few things that an employer is going to read when they're glancing over your resume at the first time. So you want the important things to stick out to them. Know that Career Services is always available to help you. We are more than happy to meet with you and give you resume feedback. At any time, you can email your resume to careerservices@moorheadstate.edu, and we will be happy to have somebody look it over, add in some feedback, and send it back to you. Each semester, we also have the resume lab or the resume blitz that you're welcome to attend. The resume lab, you can come and sit down and work on your resume and then get one-on-one help or feedback or ask questions to our staff members. At the resume blitz, you can meet with actual employers and get their perspective and feedback on your resume. But if you want some more individual one-on-one attention with your resume, feel free to schedule an in-person or virtual appointment by calling our office at 606-783-2233. If you ever do want to visit us in person, we are located on the ground floor of the library. So if you're facing the library, just follow the path around to the left and you'll come straight to our door. We are in the office from 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. We do have a suit bank in our office, so if you are preparing for a presentation or a job interview and you need some professional clothing, feel free to stop in. You can pick out whatever you need and it's yours to keep. Thanks so much and best of luck.